Hi everyone, this is Dr. Lynn Stiff talking to you today about SMART goal setting. So we are really excited to bring you these 5-minute putting it into action videos to supplement the material that you're getting in our Lifestyle Medicine 101 course. So today's is the first video in the series, and we thought that it would be great to start this out with goal setting. A lot of people have really ambitious goals when they start a new program, and we're going to be feeding you a lot of information over the next 8 weeks. So we want to make sure that we're giving you some tools so that you'll be able to put some steps into place so that you're more likely to make sustainable lifestyle changes. So why set goals? Well, we set goals because in order to get to the places that we want to go or achieve the things we want to achieve, we need to have a framework to get there. While occasionally you could just wake up and have the life that you want, oftentimes there are steps that you have to put in place to get to where you want to go. There's often some level of discomfort in the process getting there, and so our innate desires might push us to not participate in the things that will get us to our goal unless we plan in advance. You could think of somebody who wants to exercise and maybe run a 5K. If they don't make a plan or goals, it's unlikely that they'll just magically wake up in the morning and have a desire to go run that day. And so we want to set goals so that we can be intentional about the choices that we make and reach the goals and the dreams that we have in a more effective way. And so I'm going to talk about a framework for goal setting on the next slide. But first I want to talk about types of goals. So I like to think of goals as short-term, middle-term, and long-term. So long-term is big picture, like where do you see yourself in a year? Typically it's 6 months or longer from now. So that might be somebody who wants to run a marathon. So that's a much longer term goal if you're just at a 5K. But you have that as your deeper, bigger goal because you know you want to ultimately get there, but you understand it takes steps to get there. So you keep that in mind because it's going to help you determine how much you're going to push yourself in these other goals. Short-term goals are the here and now, like what we're doing in this day and in this month, and the things that we're going to be measuring more closely and tweaking as we go. And then the middle term are what bridges these two. So I like to think about things in increments, and so maybe every 2 months you have sort of a milestone or a marker on a roadmap that you're trying to get to, because you know that if let's say you want to run a marathon in a year, you know that if in 6 months you can run a half marathon, or in 9 months you can run a half marathon, you'll be closer to being at the marathon place in 1 year or 18 months. And so the middle term goals are really just kind of benchmarks to give us an idea so we know that we have a realistic timeline in place. So to set the goals that get you the results you want, you often want to use a framework or some sort of guide to get you there. SMART goals is a framework that you can use to do just that. So SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic or relevant, and timely. And so when you're setting a goal, you want it to include all 5 of these components. You might have a general goal, like let's say the example in the last one about the marathon. You know you want to run a marathon one day, but you have no idea how fast that would be or how long it's going to take you to get there. So it's okay if you have a general long-term goal that's like in the next 3 to 5 years, I want to do this thing. But when we're talking about these short-term goals, they need to be very specific or it'll be very challenging for you to achieve them. So let's say your generic goal is that you want to be more active. You don't totally know what that looks like, but you're going to just get started now. And so let's say you set the goal, I am going to swim 3 days a week for 45 minutes a day. And so that's very specific. It tells you what activity you've done, how long you're going to do it for, and how often. So that's perfect because you can actually measure that. So that's the next piece, is measurable. So are you able to measure whether you've attained this goal on the days that you've said that you're going to do it? Achievable is this something within your situation you can do? So if swimming is what your goal is, you need to have a membership. You need to know membership to a pool. You need to know how to swim. And then you need to have time and fitness to do some basic swimming. And so let's say you're completely inactive, you haven't done any physical activity for quite some time. Saying you're going to swim might be kind of a feat. You might want to start with something that's like a group fitness class for water aerobics, because that's more structured, they're telling you what to do, and it doesn't require the extra skill of being able to swim laps in a pool. And so you want to choose a goal that is achievable for you in your current state. You might have a middle term goal that you can swim laps for a certain distance, but you don't need to set yourself up for failure by having that be your goal now when you're not quite ready for it. The next one is realistic or relevant. And so how is this goal going to get you to your bigger goal? And so I know this picture on the screen says realistic. I think relevant works a little better. So is this goal relevant to my bigger goal? Will this goal put me on the path to be able to do the thing I want to do? So maybe your goal is related to cooking meals because you're trying to eat healthier. And so in that situation, if you want to have a goal that is around learning skills to cook meals and practice cooking meals so that you can get to that bigger goal of being able to cook, a plant-based meal one day. And so think about what your bigger goal is and use that to shape your smaller short-term goal. And then timely is a couple of things. One, you have a time marker for how long you're going to engage in this goal and how often you're going to track if you've met that goal. So this might be that every week you are assessing your success, or that you might track this every week. Your time frame is every week, but you're going to do it for an entire month and then reassess how things are going. So you just want to put some time component on the goal itself so that you know that to check in and how often to check in. So here are some examples. So the first is I will walk for 30 minutes 5 days a week for 1 month. I will eat 1 meat-free meal every day this week. I will spend less than 2 hours on screens every day this week. I will call 1 friend every Saturday afternoon for this month. I will meditate for 5 minutes every night before bed this week. I will track my sleep habits on a sleep journal every day for 1 month. And you can even go deeper into this. So let's say you're going to say, I'm going to track this, like I wrote here. And every week I'm going to reflect on those results and make adjustments so that I can improve my sleep and see how things go. And the next one I put in a middle term goal that was written in a SMART format, or sorry, not in a SMART format, a middle term goal that has some components of SMART but is broken down into some shorter term goals. So I will run a 5K in 3 months. So that's a bigger goal, and you're going to break it down. So the first month I will walk for 30 to 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week this month. Then I will run walk 30 to 45 minutes 5 days a week next month as a progression. And then I will run at least 30 minutes of my 45-minute exercise 5 days a week the month of the race. So you can see how these are becoming progressively more challenging, working towards this middle term goal. And so I would encourage you to set your own goals today. So it's, you don't have to have a lot of time set aside to do this. I'd encourage you to pick one goal. You can be very overwhelmed with all the information we're giving you and excited, and you may decide to set lots of goals. But I would encourage you to focus on one at a time. There's some thought, I guess this has been disproven with some research, but some thought that it takes about 21 days to form a habit. Nobody knows exactly how long it takes for everyone, but I would encourage you to focus on one thing for a few weeks so that it can become more routine for you. And then once you get into the habit of it and you've gotten the hang of it, you can add in a second goal. So when looking at the areas of lifestyle medicine, you might want to think in a prioritization, which pillar is most important to me, and then go from there, and then set a goal for the most important one. And then once you've achieved that over a few weeks, add in a second goal for a different pillar so that they're slightly different and won't necessarily make it more challenging. It's just 2 different areas of your health. So maybe the first one would be related to your diet, the second one to your sleep, the third to your stress, and the fourth to your exercise, or whatever your order is. I'd encourage you to share your goal with a friend, a coworker, or even a partner in this program. If you speak the words into existence, you're more likely to achieve them. So please don't keep them to yourself. I'm sure, just writing them down is helpful for sure, even if you don't tell anyone. But I would encourage you to tell at least one person, because even if that person totally forgets your goal, you told them, and you are much more likely to feel some pressure to stick to that goal. Check in with your goals regularly. Don't feel like you need to stick with a goal just because you made it a goal. Sometimes we do things because it sounds great and someone else is doing it and their life looks great, and we later realize it does not work for us. So maybe you decided you were going to go meatless, and 3 weeks in you decide, eek, I don't know if I can do this. That's okay. You just need to reassess what changes you can make that will still be in alignment with your health goals, but that will be slightly tweaking what your original goal was. Reassess if your short-term goals are keeping you on track to reach your long-term goal. Like I said, those middle-term goals can change a lot, which is why I like to just put them down as a general framework. So again, to the marathon example, let's say the marathon is in 1 year and you have a 10K in 4 months and a half marathon in 8 months. So you have this progression of increasing your distance. And let's say you get to 4 months and you realize, I cannot run 6 miles. I don't even want to run 6 miles. This was crazy. Then you might rethink your long-term goal. Or you might get to 4 months and think, I love this, but I'm not quite ready for this distance, and you need to shift your goals. And so maybe your 10K becomes a 6-month goal, the half marathon becomes a year goal, and the marathon becomes an 18-month goal. So just reassess if your short-term goals are keeping you on track and if your progress is aligning with your middle and long-term goals. And then don't be afraid to scrap a goal and start over if it's not working at all for you. Like I mentioned about the going meat-free, if that isn't working for you or whatever your goal is not suiting you, please change it. If you are miserable, it's not going to work out for you in the end. So it might be a matter of shifting your focus slightly so that it becomes something more enjoyable, or finding a friend to do it with you, or just changing the goal altogether. So I'd encourage you to not think of it as a failure, but as a learning experience. You learned that this type of exercise or this type of mindfulness is not going to work for you, whatever it is. And that's helpful, not a failure. So think of it in a more positive light and use it to find something that is going to work for you long term.